You are running in Washington's 3rd district. There is a Republican incumbent, 5-term Representative Jamie Herrera Butler, and you were the first declared as a challenger against this individual. What led to this challenge?
So actually what led to this is, and the reason why I'm running is that I am the legacy of 2 immigrants and the only country in the world that could have made my story possible. I always knew that I was going to serve, and I feel like this is the right time because we are at such a pivotal point in our history. And let me explain what I just said. My parents are Coptic Christian Egyptian immigrants. They escaped religious persecution in Egypt. My dad came here in the 60s. My mom came here in the 70s. And they literally borrowed against their house to send me to school. And one of the things that inspired my parents to be very serious about education is that they were the first in their families to go to college. And they knew that education got them out of that horrible situation in Egypt, and that education would propel me up. So they sacrificed themselves to make my story possible. And what that meant was that a man from a village in southern Egypt with no electricity and no running water, which my father is from a village in southern Egypt, had a son who could go to Stanford Law School and become a lawyer in the United States of America. And growing up, he instilled in me a very healthy sense of patriotism. Because let me tell you, John, one of the first broadcasts that he ever saw on TV was Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, and that convinced him that this was the greatest country on earth. And I still believe this is the greatest country on earth, but I am running to restore the idea that our government exists to give everybody an equal opportunity to have a good life. My parents made my story possible. This country made my story possible. I want to make the stories of every single one of my neighbors possible in this country, and that's why I am running.
Well, sort of getting into what you were just saying there, one of the core tenets of your campaign, as you've described it, is a desire to fight against corruption in government. And so if you were to make it into Congress, what are some of the changes you'd like to see made to fight back against corruption?
Sure, I would like to see, and as context for this, for 3 years, from 2007 to 2010, during the height of the financial crisis, I was a lawyer on Wall Street. And I saw the corruption firsthand. I saw banks betting for and against the same risky investments. I saw banks violating anti-money laundering regulations with no consequences. And I saw banks and other corporations contributing millions and millions of dollars to political campaigns to ensure that our representatives voted the way that corporations wanted them to vote, and not the way that we wanted them to vote. So I'm in favor of publicly funded elections, overturning Citizens United. And I know a lot of people are scared of this idea of a constitutional convention, but the only way we're going to overturn Citizens United is through constitutional amendment, because we're not getting a new court anytime soon. Mm-hmm. We need to get money completely out of politics so that we can take back the notion that our country belongs to us, that our policies belong to us, and that our representatives work for us. And yes, it's going to take a hard fight, but our alternative is doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And if we do nothing, we're going to continue to have this corrupt system where the corporations can tell our representatives what to do.
Peter Khalil, congressional candidate for Washington's 3rd district. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, John. It was great to be here.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.